It's Dr. Bob. Welcome back to the Better Brain Academy and the movement modules. So it's just above sunrise up here. I'm up in the Sierras doing a hike along the Pacific Crest Trail. This is overlooking the Tahoe Basin. We're about probably 8,000 foot elevation. So today on our movement module, I'm talking about how motion of the body, and especially walking and hiking, and the motion of the hips affects our brain. So if you think about it, we have a heart that pumps blood and oxygen throughout the body. So that oxygen is very important for the cells, organs, and tissues. But we have this fluid around our brain and our spinal cord called cerebral spinal fluid. So the CSF, or the cerebral spinal fluid, has to be pumped or moved throughout the body. That not only brings nutrients and oxygen to the very important parts of the brain and nervous system, but gets rid of toxins and also allows this bathing of the brain and the nervous system with proper nutrients and fluid. So if you think about it, the motion of the hips, that what's called sacroiliac joint, that movement of the hips helps in the pumping mechanism to go around the brain and the spinal column. That cerebral spinal fluid has 4 different areas of the brain that it makes this fluid, so it's constantly making it and absorbing it and pumping it. But when we get static and we don't move our body, then what happens is our cerebral spinal fluid flow gets affected. So 2 things are important as far as pumping of the cerebral spinal fluid flow. One is motion of the hips and our spine. The other is our breath. So in my hike today, what I'm focusing on is the movement of the sacroiliac. And so one way you can do that is on your walks or your hikes, you can actually stretch your stride out a little bit longer, get that motion, get that movement of the hips. If we get contracted in our exercises, we will contract muscles and they will stay tightened up. So when we stretch and when we exercise, we want to elongate our muscles. Very important in your walking stride. So mix it up a little bit. Walk short, a little bit longer, a little bit faster. That helps pump the cerebral spinal fluid. The other thing that's important is rotation of the spine. Rotation of the spine, we'll talk a little bit more in our energy exercises and how you can actually affect every level of the spinal column and the nerves. But for today, it's about pumping the cerebral spinal fluid. So make sure you're stretching your stride out when you're walking. Remember, 30 minutes of walking, 3 to 5 times a week. It's actually shown even in people in their 70s have a tremendous reduction of not only brain problems, but cardiovascular problems. So the second thing you want to focus in on is your breath. And your diaphragm is your organ of breath. So you're breathing your diaphragm into the belly. When you're doing your walk, if you're breathing deeply in through your nose, you're going to get more oxygen to the lower part of the lungs. So you're breathing in, down to the belly, holding it, and then exhaling the carbon dioxide out your mouth. So in through nose, holding it to oxygenate the body, make sure it can pass the tissues, and then exhaling out of your mouth. So when you're walking, it's not just about unconscious. We're trying to make you more conscious of your exercises and how important that is to not only affect your heart and your muscles, but your brain and your spinal column. So in your walk today, it's important to make sure that you're stretching your stride out, mixing it up a little bit, and also breathing in through your nose, that diaphragmatic breathing, holding it, and then exhaling out your mouth. That's going to allow you to get a better efficiency with your workout. It's going to pump the cerebral spinal fluid flow. You'll not only feel better, but it's going to affect your longevity of your brain in the long run. This is another Better Brain tip from the Better Brain Academy. Get out today and move the body.